Should we do an acceleration?
I think we ought to.
All right.
Yeah. And that's 70.
There you go.
If you're a regular on Motorholic, you'll have met my friend Kiran, who has this beautiful Mercedes E500. It's proper old school rear-wheel drive V8 twin turbo beast. It's his daily driver, or it was, because he's now embracing the future in a big way. He's going fully electric and he's doing it in style. What have you bought, Kiran?
Taycan 4S.
Wow, let's have a look.
4S.
And here it is. So this is a major, major departure for you. I mean, this is just the complete chalk and cheese, isn't it?
Like the ultimate car for a petrolhead to buy? Yeah, that's the question mark, isn't it?
Very much so.
I think that I was hesitant at first, particularly because I tried a lot of EVs. I've tried every current Tesla in the model range. I was fortunate enough to take each one around a racetrack. So I'm familiar with EVs.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so much the journey of combustion engine to EV. It's more what Porsche have done with this EV.
Right.
It just is on another level, and it's a fantastic car. But we can talk about that when we're in it.
Sure.
If you want, let me just show you some of the little trick features, which is, I think, a lot of people don't know about the car yet.
Awesome. Yeah,
So,
please do.
The key.
Okay.
Regular Porsche key.
Yep.
When you open the key, you're looking at the door handles there. The door handle pops out. If you double press the key, then all of the door handles pop out. So
Nice.
your occupants can jump in as well.
That's quite a welcoming feature, isn't it? It's like, okay, I'm ready.
Yes, absolutely. And then to jump into the car, what you immediately notice is it feels Porsche. It's
Right.
got all of the stuff that just makes a Porsche, the tactile shapes and forms to the dash. But there isn't an analog gauge in there at all.
Right.
Everything is digital, and the binnacle around the dash is really extraordinary because it's this curved touchscreen digital dashboard.
Okay.
And I can take you into some detail around that as well. What did I do to spec the car? All I went for was carmine red because it's my all-time most favorite Porsche color. And my dream was always to have a carmine red Porsche.
Right.
So, and I got Bose, and of course I got the rapid charging capability built into the car as well. So that gives you an additional charging port. So you've got a regular charging port, which takes that. You can use like a 7 kilowatt charger, and it'll charge. And
Yep.
pop around this way. Oh, there we go. You've got the rapid charger, so that's that different port.
Okay.
And that allows you to then stop at a charging station and fill the car up with a great deal less time.
Right.
And what Porsche recommends is that you try to keep your car at around about 85%. I didn't know that, but of course the internet is alive with lots of knowledgeable people who are using these things already.
Yep.
So I had a look at it and found out that you want to sort of keep the car charged at around about 85% to prolong the life of the battery.
Right.
It's just a whole new beast. The only other option that I got spec'd on the car is the alloys. I didn't want to have the great big sort of moon disc alloys that you see on the Mamba Green sales promotional cars.
Right.
So I went for this alloy. It's an interesting alloy because from far away it looks like it's a multi-spoked alloy wheel, but as you can see, this is all solid here, and so it's an interesting pattern. It looks markedly different from afar, and up close you realise that it's a different kind of an alloy as well.
Okay, so that probably makes it a little bit more aerodynamic, I guess.
It could make it more aerodynamic, for sure. I don't know what the facts and figures around that are.
No, fair enough.
A couple of people have asked me as well, Nick, why the high-profile tyres? That's something specific to EVs. Tyre formulation and the kind of tyres that are used in order to take the load and generate the grip on the road as well.
Okay,
So,
that's interesting.
So, yeah. We can open up the boots real quick.
Yep.
We'll open the front first. It's the front.
Yes.
And you've got enough space in here. If I put the keys in, you get an idea of the space.
Yep.
You've got enough space in here so that you can put a little piece of hand luggage or maybe a briefcase when you're going to the office. We come round to the back. I think you've already got some footage of this. Loads of space in the trunk. And then there's a little shelf in here that you can keep all of your charging cables and
that's cunning.
and all that kind of stuff in as well.
Yeah.
So should we jump in?
Absolutely. Let's do it. Now, I have to say that the interesting thing about this is that I have never been in an electric car at all. So this is a really, this is doing it in style, isn't it?
It is. It is. It's not a bad way to enter the world of electric. You really raise the bar so when you do get your electric, you're going to have to think about what that is.
Absolutely. I mean, this is just incredible. All this. I mean, it looks like something out of the future.
It is. It is. It's an interesting array. I'm gonna motor down the road and then I'm going to show you the array because we can play around with it. But let's get going to start with.
Perfect.
All you've got is a gear selector here.
Okay.
That's a park button, which
Right.
puts you in park. All you do is you pull that down, and you're ready to go. The only thing that we can hear right now is the air conditioning system. So if we switch that all off,
Yeah, completely silent.
that's it.
This feels quite spooky.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? No sound whatsoever.
No.
So
this feels actually like a combination of a Star Wars land speeder and the world's poshest milk float.
yeah. So what's really cool is some of the little functions on this. So remind me to tell you about that.
Okay.
If I forget.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna stop now, and you can record just the ambient sound because there's this Star Wars-esque kind of a sound.
It actually sounds really good in a weird kind of way. I know it's not a V8 and it's not, turbos aren't spinning, but there's quite a cool sound, isn't it?
It is. It is. It is literally. It's very Star Warsy. It's almost like when the Millennium Falcon is about to go into or about to initiate the hyperdrive.
I'm waiting for the stars to go.
So it's quite an extraordinary sound. So they do that, Nick, so that you've got some reference at low speeds, particularly if you're driving in an area which is heavy with pedestrians, to know that you're underway and you're moving along. And so you've got that sound which bellows out. So the other thing which is really, really good is the chassis lift system. So we're no strangers to a chassis lift system where you can raise the height of the car and drop the height of the car. That's something which helps you a lot when you come over speed humps and you've got like an uneven surfaces to get over, or the exit of a driveway.
Yep.
What happens with this chassis lift system is, and I didn't know this until I owned the car. I went in to lift it because I was going down a road where there was a particular bump, and I slowed down and I went in to lift the car, and I lifted the car, and I drove over that speed hump, and I kept going. I did my my day's work, and I was driving home that evening. I came back up to that little speed hump, and the car prompted me and said, "We recognise that you lifted the car when you were here last time. Do you want to save this location and automatically lift and lower the car height?"
That's fantastic.
Which is absolutely fantastic.
That's just brilliant. So if your driveway is sort of, you come up and then down over it, so every time you need to lift the car, you just set it as like a waypoint, a lift waypoint,
Yep.
and it'll just do it when you turn up.
And it just does it, which is great, really, really great. It's all those little sort of clever features, I think, that just make this such a usable daily driver.
Yeah.
And it is extraordinarily fast as well. Obviously, it's an absolute rocket ship. The display gives you lots and lots of options, and I can pull over and scroll through and show you what those things are in a moment. But first, I want to take you for a drive, give you the feeling that I've had ever since I've jumped into this. And I must say, Nick, the first day that I got this car, I drove it for a good 2 hours, and I got home later that evening, and I had a ridiculous smile on my face, clearly for the entire journey, because when I got home my face was aching.
Well, that's a good sign, isn't it?
So yeah, it is a good sign.
And is this four-wheel drive?
It is, yeah. So you've got a motor on the front and you've got a motor on the back. If you have a look at the binnacle here, I can show you what's actually going on. So if I go into all wheel, it shows you that the rear is being used predominantly now. Under acceleration, it will disperse that energy. So you see that, that energy change. So I'm really careful on the accelerator. It's just nuance, to be honest. 10 or 15% of the accelerator is almost enough to do everyday acceleration. We're in regular mode right now. We're not in sport mode. When you go into sport mode, it immediately takes about 5 miles off your range. It just drops the range.
Right.
Probably predicting that you're going to be a little bit heavier footed, and it's going to be hanging around and holding speed in a different mapping.
Yeah.
Which is also quite cool. So we're going to head up on the same road that we did in Brutus, the old E500.
It's a really weird feeling, isn't it? When you've not been in one before, it's really odd. It's almost otherworldly.
Yes, yeah, it is. But you know, it's lovely because the car feels so much lighter than clearly it is.
Yeah.
It just feels like it just feels so agile, you know, which is lovely. So I'm gonna go into sport mode.
Okay.
And when we've got a straight bit of road, and I'll slow down a little bit, so
Okay.
lower than the speed limit, and see if I can give you a sense of the acceleration.
I'm slightly nervous. Yeah, that's got some grunt, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Grunt almost feels like the wrong word, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does feel like the wrong word. It's you know, when you go from nothing to everything in this car, it does this weird thing. It doesn't let up. So your body, I think, if you're used to driving fast cars, I think that the power delivery curve, I actually think that you feel it. You feel it in strange ways. For me, I feel that power delivery curve in like the way that my eyes sit in my eye sockets.
Right, yeah.
And I think when I first drove this car, I felt it in my eyes. You know, the acceleration. It's unique because it's just relentless. It's all, and it's all the time. It's all. So it's got such a strange kind of a way of delivering that power, which you're just sort of not all that used to. So I'll go up here because then we can get on the little motorway.
Okay.
So if you're driving around normally in the Taycan for us, you get around about anywhere between 170 and 190 miles.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Out of a full charge.
Yeah.
If you're a little bit silly, certainly in the first week of ownership, you can't help yourself. You get a little bit less than that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because you are literally trying what flat out means in a Taycan wherever possible, and it's almost addictive to try it out and see just get that sense of incredible acceleration. But what then happens is you realize actually it's just a very usable, practical car. It's got tons and tons of space. I mean, in the back, with adults in the back, there's so much space, there's so much volume in the back. They've really unlocked a lot of space in this car. So now we're doing about 60 miles per hour, and I'll give it a bit of a stop.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's fast.
So you get the idea.
Yeah.
So it's got just that
It's instant as well, isn't it? You're not waiting for the turbos to spool up, are you?
No, you're not, and you're not, as I said, you don't feel a power curve. You don't feel like you're getting it and then it's slightly dissipating and coming off in terms of the acceleration. And your body sort of, your eyes, I feel it in my eyes, can really adjust to that kind of acceleration. You get a sense of, wow, this thing is fast.
Yeah.
But with this, it's sort of slightly unnaturally fast because of the amount of power that it's putting down. You know, as I was saying before, with regards to Teslas, I feel very strongly that Teslas are almost, you know, in the old world of American muscle cars, they were addictive and they were so much fun and they were loose and you know, had a certain essence and style about them. But what you would be able to consistently say with an American muscle car is point it in a straight line and plant your foot and it'll impress you.
Yeah.
And exactly the same with Australian muscle cars. So, you know, the Holden Commodore being a prime example of that. The Holden Commodore, big V8, you know, loads of power. Plant your foot in a straight line, it was fantastic. But take it through some tight, twisty lanes and turns, and it just falls away from you. You realise it's just too heavy and it's just too, you know, stodgy. And that, for me, I have that feeling in Teslas. I feel that they're just, I think the weight, the centre of gravity is so high up in the platform of the car that you feel it too much.
Right.
And what I think Porsche have done with this is they've taken that weight and they've dropped it so close to the surface off the road as possible in this package. There's obviously packaging constraints because it still needs to be a practical car.
Yeah.
But with that, it really changes the way that the car balances and feels. And it's just lovely. It's really just lovely. There are cars coming, but it won't make a difference to us because we're going to pin it. We're doing 70 miles.
That's astonishing. That is astonishing. Yeah.
So I'm going to stop here for a minute. And I'm going to show you a couple of things on the car. Firstly, if you hit the brake pedal very hard, the hold button comes on and that will hold the car into position. So you come off all of the pedals and it'll just hold. So it's almost like a hill assist, traffic light, it's just a hold function. When you go to accelerate again, the hold function pops off. If you put it into park, you press that P mode and it's in park. And right now you can't hear anything at all. I'll switch all the cooling systems off. So first I want to talk to you about this because it's just the most beautiful screen that I've seen in a car. The graphic display and the information that's there. You see the little highlighted yellow? With this little button you can select the 3 points on the dash. So let's select the first one, and with the scroll you can choose whether you want a G-force meter, you can have traffic signs, you can have your warning and assistance systems for lane guidance, and of course you have the all-wheel, which we were just on a moment ago, showing the delivery of power, and tyre info, looking at tyre pressures. So that's that. In the center you've then got your navigation. If you move up, you can put that on a power meter, so that will actually show the generation of power. It will also show the recuperation level. And if you go to extended map, this is what happens. So now the navigation takes up the entire binnacle.
Okay.
So you've got the full width off a map, and that allows you to sort of hone in if you're really touring and you want to have an idea of where you're going in terms of sat nav.
Yeah.
You could program that in so it takes up your whole display. And if you then pop it back into reduce mode, it goes just to mandatory information. How fast are you going, and what's the speed limit where you are currently? So with that, I normally just leave it on the small map so that I have the 3 displays. And we go to this last display here. You've got all of the information there. And in addition to that, you can go into your media. As you can see, I'm a huge fan of BBC Radio 6. You've got your trip meter showing how much time and distance we've traveled. And of course, you've got navigation instructions. So not only do you have the nav screen for the map, you've also got the prompts coming up here as well. So I tend to leave it on information to feel a little bit more techie. The other thing is, as you can see here, you've got the ability to press the dash. So I've just pressed the lift system. It's now lifting the car up, so it's telling me that the car's lifting up. And when it reaches full height, it'll hold and it'll show the arrow height, indicating that it's in the higher lift functionality as well. So that's one screen. Here's the other screen. This screen here, you can split it so that you've got all of your programmed information to hand here, so like your favorites and your menus. If you press it that way, you can split the screen so that you've got the people who have called you, the music that you're listening to, and the map. And additionally to that, if I go back to this, we can now dive into all of this information. So what's interesting is the charge information. So when you go to this, you start to get profiles, and you have a button here which is pre-cool and preheat. Now this is really clever, and at first, when I first owned the car, I didn't quite understand what the point of it was. But the point is that if you're charging from a EV charger at home or it's plugged in, the car will know, and you can time it by your profile, that Nick Burnham is leaving to go to the office at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and he's leaving at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Friday. You put all of those profiles in, and you can also assign preheat and cool so that the car will heat up and be the correct ambient temperature using the source power that you're charging the car with.
Right.
And it won't utilize the energy of the car once you get underway to bring the car up to temperature.
Gotcha.
So it's just a little clever function like that. But also you can profile and time out the charging so that it's on the screen as well, so that you can program it that you can use off-peak hours to charge the car. You can allow certain capacities for charge, so minimum capacity where it will charge. So if it isn't below that, it won't bother drawing down energy. And that's how that works. And you can always bypass it by going on the direct charging, which I think is really interesting. I've mentioned already that the chassis lift system is automated. You can also choose whether you want the recuperation of energy on the system. It marginally helps with the mileage, but most of the time, if you want to go all out, you can take the recuperation off and you can put it into sport mode, and you can just sort of go all out.
And the recuperation, is that so when you're braking, it's using that energy to charge the battery? Is that what recuperation is?
It's taking the motor slow down, and it's putting some of that energy back into the system.
Gotcha.
So it all connects with your My Porsche app and your Porsche Connect app, and so it's all really clever, and there's so much in terms of programming. The other really cool thing about this, which a lot of people didn't know, particularly when you're looking at owning this car and some of the features that it's got, is you can go into destination. You may want to put a destination in, and you can then write on this screen here.
Okay.
And you can write anything you like. So I can write Nick, and it'll put it in for you, so you can try to find that really quickly. Again, with this screen, there's a lot of functionality on it. You've got a double tap function on it, so you can turn the music up.
Oh wow!
And turn the music down by keeping
it's like a virtual volume.
2 fingers on it.
Right.
Which is quite useful if you're driving and you just want to turn the volume up or you want to turn the volume down.
Mm-hmm.
All sorts of stuff like that. Again, with the AC systems, you can also slide them up and slide them down.
Gotcha.
As opposed to pressing the buttons. But I want you to press that button, Nick, and feel the tactility of it. So
okay.
I'll just turn the volume down again.
So just... Okay, yeah, it's like haptic feedback.
It is, and the haptic response of the system is really clever.
Yeah, nice.
It's got the right weighting to make it feel like it's actually a physical button when it's not. You know?
Yeah. No, I can see that. Yeah, totally. That's impressive.
So yeah, and there you go. We're listening to some Elvis Costello.
What more do you want from life?
Should we get back underway?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, brilliant. Should we do an acceleration?
I think
Nick?
we ought to.
All right.
Yeah. That's 70.
You go.
That's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that is the way to answer critics who say that the electric cars are no fun, isn't it?
I think they are so much fun, but I also think just in this, where the world is currently and where we are, yes, there's lots of conversations about where does the source energy come from, where, you know, for your energy grid when you're charging the car, and, you know, what's the sustainability of battery manufacture, etc., etc. I think what electric cars do give us is they give us the governance of that, whereas before with your big dastardly V8 twin turbo 4.7 litre Mercedes, you know, you could dump as much CO2 in depending on how much you use the car and depending on how much fuel you put in the car and how heavy footed you are. I think with these cars, the cleverness is going to evolve, and how these cars communicate to your energy grid, where you can draw down energy from a car, for example, back into the grid. And also, I think just being able to also note purely how much you're using and how much energy you're consuming. I think all of these things are going to start to develop, and they're going to start to become part of how we interact with motor vehicles. It's an exciting time, because for me, as an absolute petrol head, I don't want to see the death of the combustion engine. I really love the idea that an EV exists and it has this purpose and this form, and it can deliver this kind of driving experience, which is just stellar, absolutely stellar. It leaves for very little wants and desires other than just the exhaust note or the vibration of a, you know, a not quite so harmonically balanced, motor in the engine bay. But I think those experiences have a place, and I think they have a place in old classic cars, and I think that we will appreciate and keep classic cars specifically for that nostalgia and for that feeling. I think this is the future. I really do, and I tell you what, it's a pretty spectacular future, Nick. It's a pretty spectacular future.